All right, excellent. My name is John D'Agostino. I'm head of strategy for Coinbase Institutional. I'm here with Joe McCann, founder, head trader, janitor, asymmetric.
All the things.
All the
Yes.
above? Okay. All right, so let's just full disclosure. First and foremost, I'm on your board of directors.
Correct.
We've known each other for a while. It was on your board prior to me joining Coinbase. And when I joined Coinbase, look, obviously they were like, wait, what's this outside business stuff you're doing? How can you justify it? And I fought really hard for a few things. And the way I fought for you, for staying on your board, was Joe is a window and the smartest person I know in a segment of cryptocurrency, meme coin. I've heard you refer to culture coins or community coins. I love that concept. And it's a part of the world where I don't have access to. And he's sort of like the thinking man's degen. That's how I thought about you.
Thank you.
And I meant that. I mean, I've learned a tremendous amount being on your board. So let's just start with maybe for those in the room who aren't from the crypto world. We have the real estate folks in the room. So what when I say those words like degen and meme coin, let's define some of those. What's a meme coin?
Yeah, sure. So I think if we kind of zoom out a little bit, some of the founders, CEO, and CIO of Asymmetric, we're a digital assets investment firm. We have a couple of hedge funds, venture capital funds. But what's unique about us is that we sit at the intersection of technology, capital, and culture. And this is a rare combination in, say, the traditional financial world, where most, say, hedge fund managers or private equity firms or venture capital funds are very much focused on finance. By having a pulse on culture, this is, internet culture, entertainment industry, pop culture, that enables us to identify trends as it relates to cryptocurrency ahead of, I would say, folks that are just traditionally trained in finance. And so what is a meme coin? Well, we should define what a meme is first, or mimetic behavior, which has been around since the dawn of human existence. Memes are information that tend to propagate. So these could be political ideology, they could be religious beliefs, they could be a picture of a cat on the internet. And viral content on the internet has been around since, call it roughly 2005, 2006. If you were around then, you can probably recall YouTube, these viral videos that were flying around. And that really spawned the kind of genesis of memes on the internet. And of course, as the internet has grown and improved in terms of technology reach and the speed of propagation of information, memes are just a part of what we call internet culture. And so I get asked, well, what is the definition of internet culture? And I kind of refer to the Supreme Court justice back in the 1960s that was ruling on a case around pornography, which is, I don't know how to define it, but I know it when I see it. It's the same thing with internet culture. And so what we've come to now with blockchain, especially high throughput blockchains like a technology called Solana or even Base, which is the layer 2 that Coinbase provides, is the ability to tokenize in real time internet culture. And so is this good or bad? It's not really a moral debate. It's actually happening. And so meme coins could be associated with an event like the presidential election. There, of course, were meme coins associated with Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. You could probably anticipate what happened to the value of Donald Trump's meme coin, which he did not create. Some random person created it. It went up in value. And a lot of this has to do with folks that are participating in this activity on the internet in real time. But we've never had the ability to have a financial instrument associated with something that's culturally relevant and propagating at the speed of light. So in a nutshell, a meme coin is a tokenized version of internet culture. It's a tokenized version of attention and engagement. And this is not slowing down. This is actually rapidly accelerating.
And the communities that are engaging in this behavior, that are embedding themselves into this meme coin culture, is it a specific demographic? Is it young men? Is it children? Is it adults? Like, how's it span?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question, because I think one of the challenges to look through attribution for whom is involved with meme coins is almost next to impossible. And the reason is because these blockchains are what are considered permissionless networks. So It's just your wallet that exists on a chain somewhere. It's not your social security number. It's not even your email address. What we have found at Asymmetric is that, yes, it is primarily young men, but more importantly, it's younger people. And I think that this speaks to a broader reason as to why a lot of young adults are engaging and quote investing or buying meme coins, is that on the one hand, if you're 22, freshly out of college, maybe you grew up middle class, lower middle class, your hope of buying a home in the United States is pretty low. And so what ends up happening is folks will either, it's football season, they'll open up DraftKings and put a 5-team parlay with $100 on it and try to hit it and make, $10,000. That same concept applies to meme coins. And so a lot of folks would rather, instead of putting, say, $500 into a CD at a bank and earn 4.5% on $500, they'd rather put it into a dog coin. And if that thing hits, they'll make a couple $1,000,000. This is, I think, alludes to the speculative nature or the almost gambling type nature that exists with a lot of young adults today that fall into this sort of concept of loosely called financial nihilism, where they're just saying, hey, I just think that this might be a better chance for me to get ahead than trying to do it the traditional way that, say, my parents or grandparents did.
So there's so just to summarize, there's this sense of financial nihilism, which people feel left out of the economy, and so they will take these lottery ticket type bets, and this is the next new way to do it. But that itself has been there forever.
Correct.
Do you see? But there's another aspect you've spoken about, which is this community element of meme coins, and they make people feel like they're part of something larger than themselves.
That's right.
Is that also driving behavior?
100%. I mean, so there's myriad categories of meme coins because culture is what you make it, and it's very specific to a region or a topic. There's a handful of meme coins that people are associated with, most notably Dogecoin, because Elon Musk has been a big proponent of it. I think the name of the agency that he's likely going to create in the Trump administration is the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE. So people love Elon Musk. He's a cult of personality, and he has a massive community that follows him. And this alludes to something that we saw about 12, 13 years ago with the launch and kind of explosion of Instagram with celebrities. So if you recall, many years ago, Instagram was a new way for fans to engage with athletes, celebrities. You could see what Kim Kardashian was having for lunch. This brought proximity closer to you, to these people, and the community of people also became closer by proxy. That same sort of thing is happening with meme coins today. So I work very closely with a woman named Iggy Azalea. She's a massively successful musician who is now retired from music and is actively involved in Web3 and crypto. And her community is enormous, and they are fervent followers of her and everything that she does. She launched her own meme coin earlier this year called Mother. And again, the members of this community feel a level of closer proximity to her by being a part of this community. Even if you own $1 worth of the token or $1 million worth of the token, it doesn't matter. You're sort of part of this community, and these communities have been on the internet for a long time. So if you look at reddit.com, one of the most widely trafficked websites on the planet, there are infinite numbers of sub-communities within Reddit. Well, that's now happening with meme coins as well, as you've got these communities that are popping up all over the internet that now have some financial instrument associated with it that they all actually want to be a part of.
And just one more quick point on demographics, and I want to shift into kind of the intersection of real world and meme coin culture. Reddit has broader demographics than what you indicated meme coins have currently. Another data point is over the last 10 years, the gaming culture has broadened into older and wider gender demographics. How many people, so gamers, like people play video games, like quick show of hands, like how many, what percentage do you think are women gamers? Under 20. Raise your hand if under 20% of gamers, video gamers are women. Under 20? Under 10? Other direction? Under 30? Who thinks? Okay, it's about 47%. It's almost 50-50 now in the game. And the age is also increasing. So do you see with applications like you're doing with Iggy, do you see that demographic broadening over time? And so you think older Americans will start to participate in meme culture?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, one of the reasons Reddit has such a broad set of cohorts, if you will, is that it's a standard Web 2 style technology. It's a website, it's a mobile app. Web 3 is still a relatively new technology, and we, as builders and investors behind the builders, have a duty to improve the user experience to be able to bring on more users into this space. I had this conversation with my babysitter. I have two young kids. She's 18 years old. I asked her if I could pay her in USDC, which is a stable coin, and she said, "What's that?" And I onboarded her by having her, install Coinbase on her phone, install a Phantom wallet on her phone, send her a little bit of Solana, send her the USDC as payment. And the light bulb moment went off, and she said, "Why would I use Venmo? Why would I not? Why isn't everybody doing this?" And I said to her, I was like, "Do you see how many steps it took to get you onboarded? Once we collapse that, that's just a user experience problem, and it's a totally solvable problem. And when those user experience gaps collapse, you will start to see older folks, folks that are, I would say, what we call in crypto normies, folks that aren't in crypto today, because the magic of technology is when it disappears. You don't need to actually install a wallet and a seed phrase and all of the kind of cryptographic mumbo jumbo that comes with it. It should be abstracted away. And we at Asymmetric have backed a number of companies that are doing this, particularly on mobile. We think that actually the biggest step function improvement in expanding the user base for crypto and Web3 will be through mobile phones. And it should be no surprise there's over a couple billion on that planet today.
Okay, so we've got this mostly online community building, culture forming, and some of it's around financial nihilism. Is I didn't get a bite at the apple, so I'm going to buy this lottery ticket, and even if there's a 1 in a million chance I'm going to win, I take joy in the fact that someone else has won and become a crypto millionaire. There's another component, which is I want to build community either based on some icon or of my fellow peers, because there's this pandemic of loneliness around the world. How does that start to translate into what normies would consider real world use cases, right? So we're here at a conference that's looking to solve a very, very real world problem, the buying, selling, value transfer of real estate property. There's a meme coin and gamification component. And so they're betting on the fact that those two intersect in some way. Can you give us examples of where that's been the real case?
Yeah, so I mean, this is, there's kind of I'll try to keep it brief because it is a long answer. So the first thing I think we have to recognize is that no market has ever existed without speculation. That is a necessary and sufficient condition for any market to exist. So you can even go back to the late 1800s in the United States, for when railroads were a thing. People didn't know what they were or what they were going to do, but they speculated in them. And that speculation led to ultimately the building out of all of these railroads, and the rest is history. That's the same sort of thing that happens with a new technology like crypto. Folks speculate. Speculation is a great use case for crypto right now, but it's not the only one. And in fact, there is evidence to suggest that speculation actually leads to new use cases. So would you be surprised to know that in 2023, 75% of Las Vegas Strip casinos revenues came from non-gambling income sources? So you have a business model that is literally built on speculation. You're going to win at a casino, that is now generating more money from non-speculative use cases. And so to get to your question, what are those use cases that we see today? Well, they're not exactly here yet, but the infrastructure is now in place to actually build them. Now, some of these meme coins or culture coins do actually have utility. There's really only two ways for a meme coin to maintain, what we call its market cap or its valuation, and that is extreme levels of attention. So you have the grip of the internet behind you. That is very, very difficult to maintain. The second aspect is to have some sort of utility associated with it. So I'll get back to my friend Iggy Azalea and her mother token. Right now, she is a large owner of a mobile virtual network operator called Unreal Mobile. This is similar to what Ryan Reynolds did with Mint Mobile, or you may be familiar with Cricket or Virgin Mobile from back in the day. These are just mobile virtual network operators that operate on top of, say, a Verizon or an AT&T or T-Mobile. She launched Unreal Mobile earlier this year, and if you pay your bill with the Mother token, you get 10% off. She partnered with the fastest growing music festival in the United States right now called Breakaway. If you buy a ticket using the Mother token, you save 20%. So if you're 19 years old and a ticket's $200 and you can save $40, that's a lot of money. And so you're starting to see slowly the integration of utility of these tokens into real world use cases. But we're not at a point where we've had our sort of chat GPT moment. And people ask me all the time, like, what's the killer app? I'm like, well, right now it's stablecoins and payments, which is a huge material use case, right? But let's be clear, the artificial intelligence industry was around for over 70 years before they had ChatGPT. And I can assure you, no one in this room in the 1990s was saying, hey, I really would like to have a conversation with an AI bot to teach me everything, right? It just happened, and it took a long time for that to happen. I don't believe that's going to be the case with crypto, especially given that the internet infrastructure is in place for these types of real world applications to come to light.
So thank you for that, by the way. You and I have had some back and forth on Twitter. I love interacting with you on Twitter, by the way, because I pick up all these weird new followers. Because I'll say something to you, and then you'll like give me like a thumbs up, and you say, "Oh, Dags is the best," and then like I'll wake up the next day and I've got like lots of Chinese characters following me, both literally and figuratively. But I think that you and I've also discussed on Twitter. There's another component which is just getting people used to the idea of using these applications, right? So the example I give is my mother, who's 84. After almost 40 years, has finally succumbed to online banking. She refused it. She went from JP Morgan to a credit union. She fought it for 40 years. Finally, she called me and said, John, you got to help me set up an online banking. Let's use Bank of America. Why? Because she's been playing online casinos to pass the time. And she just got used to the idea of transferring value online. So it wasn't scary to her anymore. I mean, the old joke that people always say is, I'm not sure how old you guys remember. Do you remember when the two rules of the internet were don't give out your credit card information and also never get into a car with a stranger?
Yeah.
And that's literally what we do. Willfully and joyfully.
Yeah, I got in a car with a stranger to get here today.
Right. So it happens in one generation. So I think this notion that we can just start getting people to use these things, whether it's for something perceived as frivolous or whether it's perceived as something more substantial like buying a home, getting just people used to the idea of transacting value using this technological mechanism, it will help and will speed up the process.
I completely agree. And I think that it is very noble and ambitious to bring things like real estate on chain. The work that needs to be done prior to that, which has been the case for a number of years now, is exactly what you're describing, is that getting people comfortable with an alternative financial system. This is not to suggest that they don't need bank accounts, that they don't need, to be able to do ACH payments or use a Visa or MasterCard. What we're suggesting is that there is an alternative system that they can opt into as well. And there are benefits to doing this. Once they get comfortable with that, then the other real world applications become much easier to do because, to your point, if you go online today or even on Instagram or anywhere, it's just trivial to buy stuff. I think in a lot of cases, I just end up buying stuff and it arrives and I forgot that I bought it. It's gotten to that point.
I'm in therapy for a Temu addiction.
Yeah, there exactly, right?
It's bad.
Yeah. But that conditioning is now so prevalent amongst consumers that they don't even think about the payment process is actually an entry in a database. Well, eventually your payment process will just be an entry on a distributed ledger. And we're getting to that point, again, as I get back to the user experience improving, that will actually drive a lot more people into areas like tokenized real estate.
So last question, and you kind of hit on this. Do you think these are supplementary or complementary systems to legacy financial systems? So do you think that we will have two capital markets, one traditional securitized equity market and another tokenized market, or do you think everything's going to shift over?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question, one I thought about quite a bit. And so it's very, very difficult to usurp the financial industry. It took them a long time to even move to things like cloud computing, let alone Web3 or blockchain related technologies. But one of the things that I try to do is, in order to kind of forecast where the future is going, I look at the past and go, what is in the present right now that could mirror a pattern that existed. So let's take the stock market as an example. So the stock market, for stocks, there's roughly like three major components that come with a stock. There's the issuance of the stock, there's the buyback of the stock, and then there's dividends that end up getting paid out to the stock. And yes, I'm sure there's other nuance like stock splits, this and that, but for the most part, those are the three major components of a stock. What would that look like on chain? So today, when you issue a token, you have what's called a token generation event, and this could be a fixed supply like Bitcoin, or it could have an inflation schedule like, say, Solana. How do you buy back the stock? Well, with tokens, there's this concept of buy and burn, where effectively, some entity, whether it's a foundation behind a protocol or something to that effect, goes out into the market and literally buys the token and then sends it to what's called a burn address, meaning it just eviscerates it. It doesn't exist anymore, thus shrinking the supply. And then third, and I think this is where things are going to get interesting given the fact that we had a red sweep in the election, and it's pretty clear that we'll have some level of regulatory clarity around decentralized finance, crypto, etc., is the dividend piece. And this is, I think, a major, like maybe the last big thing that brings a lot more people into crypto, because there's a lot of tokens out there that are called governance tokens for these projects and protocols that currently do not pay dividends because it could appear to be a security. Well, that is likely going to change. And I do think that what we'll see is this complementary financial system, and over time, the efficiencies in this complementary system will ultimately usurp the legacy system. And by the way, we saw this in the music industry in the 1990s. I'm sure a lot of you in the 1990s remember the CDs that were in the giant cardboard boxes you get from Tower Records that cost $18. They'd have 12 tracks on them, and they were basically controlled, by like an oligopoly of record labels. Well, the people had enough and created an alternative system. It was called Napster. And at first, they ignored it, then they laughed at it, then they fought it in court. And now, what is the music industry? It looks like Napster. It just took 25 years. That's effectively what I think is going to happen to the financial system as well.
That's fantastic. And maybe we'll have those streams include rental incomes for firms like Propy. So, Joe, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thanks, everyone.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of the time.